mob in America and nothing short of it. We mean to end their profits. Our goal is to break the power of the mob in America and nothing short of it. We mean to end their profits, imprison their members, and cripple their organization. Imprison their members and cripple their organization. Cripple their organization. Imprison their members. Break the power of the mob. Our goal is to break the power of the mob in America and nothing short of it. Yo, what's going on, world? What's going on? Real quick, I just seen some craziness going on elsewhere, so it prompted me to go live real quick because, some black women came into the black manosphere trolling on some BS, and I'm seeing this all too often, and it's something I grow tired of, and I'm sure it's a lot of other men and black women who are tired of seeing this, and this is some BS. So I want to showcase something from an old YouTube channel that a gentleman put together some years ago. And if you'll notice here, it says Disturbing the Peace, Spring Break, Miami. And it's this white guy, Vitali TV, and he runs around and pranks people. And if you'll notice, what he's going to do is he's going to run around and prank some black women right now. And I want you to see how he's going to go ahead and prank these women. You see homeboy here, Gucci down to the socks. Rich white guy.
I just want to go out to the beach and film a video. People want to fight, man. Yeah, for sure. What happened? You cut you off, that motherfucker? Cut me off. Hi, Phillips. We just got to South Beach and holy shit. Streets fucked up. There's nice cars everywhere. There's low riders, bike riders. There's some weird shit. I don't know, people do drugs everywhere.
Now, you see he's walking up. My camera doesn't like your tits.
There's nice cars everywhere. There's low riders, bike riders. There's some weird shit. I don't know, people do drugs everywhere.
None of my camera likes your tits. My what? A group of girls with colorful different types of hair, except for this one here who has dreadlocks. So she's appealing in natural and in her natural state, something that would make me willing to know that she's worth doing what they say they need this submission for. But you see, he doesn't come up submitting, and he's not even in his car. It's just an average white dude with some muscles who walks up and says whatever he wants.
My camera, not even me, I'm gay. What? I'm not on YouTube.
Now, they immediately recognize him for being on YouTube, but when someone who is distinguished, like Kevin Samuels, comes up, no problem. Now, here's what's funny, because it looks like this white guy is interested in this particular black girl, and look at the shade being thrown her way from this girl. Bitch, I wish he was looking at me. Automatically. So men realize that when they're mad at you, they're also mad at you for not picking them, and they're mad at their homegirl for you picking her over her and her. I'm light, bright, and skinny too. Why didn't you pick me? I can be inside of you. She's laughing and grabbing on him. Look at all the black men just being surpassed. What are the sexual jokes?
Of course. That's how we get Instagram. On Instagram. Let me ask you a serious question. How many guys you gonna bang this spring break?
I'm gonna bang none. There's nobody that has seen work drop my drawers for. No.
Jeez. Alright, see it.
Now, look at again the body language of this woman. Not even dropping your drawers for me? No. Yes, she dropped them drawers for that man right there. I'm going to go ahead and acquiesce and allow Mr. Edward Anderson to get on, and you can go ahead with your opening remarks, sir. All right. Well, until he gets his mic back on, as you can see here.
All right. No, my bad. I was away from my phone for a second, but what's up?
So as you can see here, these women are immediately accepting disrespect from this man. And the things that he's saying to them are very sexual. He literally just asked, so let me ask you, how many guys are you going to bang here during spring break? She goes, none. Nobody's worth dropping my drawers for. He says, not even me. And she puts, you can look at the body language. I'll rewind it for you. The body language shows that she's ready to drop them drawers for this man.
What sexual joke? Just your chocolate? I don't know shit. That's what they said.
It's Janae. Follow me, Janae Marie.
Of course. That's how we get Instagram. On Instagram. Let me ask you a serious question. How many guys you gonna bang this spring break?
I'm gonna bang none. There's nobody that has seen work drop my drawers for. No.
Jeez.
Now you see right there, the immediate thing she does is put her hand right on his chest. What does that let you know? She's sitting there and she's actually looking for the opportunity or the opening with that body language to go ahead and get brought back to his hotel and be banged right there. Now, if that was a black man who said that, we would be pasted all over the internet as a misogynist, as all sorts of trash, as all sorts of evil, and we need to approach with a much softer approach. Just like I saw, Kevin Samuels actually went on and approached some young ladies who were younger than him. And he was like, look, madam, I would like you to be safe out here and not die. And the woman said, well, you could have approached her differently. You could have said, hey, you know, you're too pretty to be out here dying and smile. He said, ma'am, I'm 51 years old. That woman was damn near a teenager. So you would have had him out here either R. Kelly or completely disrespectful, you know, and out of line and distasteful. He's not that type of gentleman at all. He's going to approach with decorum. But as someone else saw here, she rubbed him. So she's rubbing all over his chest. She's grabbing all on his arm. She's giving all the sign languages, smiling, keeping him, touching him, grabbing him. And that same, there were several black men who were just as buff who walked by and she ignored. So black women appreciate being disrespected by non-black men. Now, there's also something else that has been spoken in the black manosphere, and that's that we maybe need to start treating them like they're treated in other cultures. So I'll give you an example of my personal life. Go ahead, Mr. Anderson. You about to say something?
Yeah, because I'm not going to be up here long. I just wanted to definitely say what's up. Say I like, you know, the content you're putting up there. But I will say, as far as this topic goes, you know, what humans love to act like we obviously know that your subconscious mind dominates your conscious mind, or at least intelligent people, they learn about that, right? And what a lot of people like to do in the black community, but this is true in all communities, but we're going to talk about the black community, is they like to talk about history, talk about slavery, talk about, you know, what happened in the past, yet when it's to their benefit. But when it's something that you're pointing out, it's saying, hey, what you're describing in this video is the role of the Jezebel whore and the role of the white slave master that they've always occupied. This is why white men, don't ever let white men tell you that they're afraid of black women. They're not. Because they understand that unless a woman is having like a serious psychotic breakdown or hormonal issue, they have no problems walking up to black women. Now, this guy is basically built, but even if this would have been a weirdo white dude, he would still not have that same issue because they believe they own you. That's why they're so comfortable. And this is not me saying that this guy is a bad guy. I don't know this guy. What I'm saying is he understands what his role is, and he understands the role of black women, and black women have reciprocated that before. And so what a lot of black women will say is, if they were hearing us comment on this, they would say either we must be insecure. They will say a whole host of things to dismiss what's being said, because their job is to basically make it seem like this never happened. I point to you, King Sigma's channel and Jason Pope getting 600 black women, giving them STDs. 600 black women was exposed to HIV because of this one white man, which tells you how much sexual access a white man has to black women. And these are not necessarily, no matter if they act like wiggers, no matter if they act like weirdo white dudes, because that's the Vegan Ager and Crystal and Keratin situation that happened like years ago. It doesn't matter. And they usually don't tell black men this because they know we don't care, because we're having sex with their women. But when they get mad, every once in a while, they'll try to put it off. So my point coming back to it is, because I see stuff like this Bike Week, Mocha Fest, all these whole cruises or whole excursions that women act like they don't do, but they want to get mad at men when men travel. They get in these roles and they're very comfortable in these roles. So another thing I'm going to say too is, when a lot of black women will tell you they're not attracted to white men, that's a lie. Most black women are attracted to white men. It's just the white men that they might have sex with, they can't get to. This is why they always see it as an opportunity, and it's not seen as disrespect when a white man does something because their attention is valued. Now, they'll argue it's because of novelty. There might be something to that a little bit, but we also know there's something else going on there. So, yeah. Oh, and that BS about it's how you say it, that's a lie. Whenever somebody asks you, tells you it's how they say it, you kindly ask them to produce an example of how somebody said something similar and they accepted it. Because I can tell you that I can produce another person, whether it's a black woman or a white man, saying the same thing Kevin said, a lot more harsh, and black women don't get as upset about it. So that's all you do. You ask them to produce that, and they won't be able to, because that's a lie. So that's at least the first round on that.
All right, go ahead. Thank you, Edward. I'm gonna go ahead and let Chaos Reign speak for a moment.
Absolutely.
Black man, appreciate. Well, the answer to the question is to ask question to get the same answer result, and that's pretty much no. For what we are witnessing and watching time after again, as you know, Blue Blazer, and for what reason why that is, I ain't gonna waste time going into detail for that. But at the end of the day, the disrespect only could take you so far, ladies. And if you're a woman that don't carry yourself a certain way and you got a mate, then you're winning. I advise most women that doesn't have this issue should not have friends that do have a problem with the men of their community, to be fair and honest. But like always, misery does love company, how I see it. But one thing I do want to ask you, Mr. Blazer, because I did come across your channel, I did subscribe. We might have to talk, because I'm trying to do a different shift moving on to this new year. And I did talk about economics and stuff. I might want to have you on for a future show, because you are in the business of insurance. Am I right, Blue Blazer?
Yes, financial advisory as well as real estate.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what's your age. You're in your late mid-30s or whatever. I don't know. Just from
I'm in my late 30s. I'm 36. Well, I'm 36 going on 37.
Of next year. 37 next year.
Yeah, I'll be 37 in April.
Okay, all right. Well, good, perfect. Yeah, that'd be the good opportunity to have you on, because I do other shows that I don't talk. I normally tell you email offline if you have it. I'll tell you more. That my thing is moving forward as men, because you did talk about even you come out here, you try and bring a sense of financial importance to a lot of us men that we don't look into, from insurance, life insurance, whatever case may be, and the games that the money we do waste in regards to the tax issue, which I didn't know that you go to somebody else, they'll rip you for the codes. because you don't really check your resource. If there's anywhere else I can get the same service without pulling too much out of my pocket. Can you
You
agree?
must be talking about this morning, where I
Yeah.
did the IRS videos.
I just saw it. Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's a lot of where I want to lead this particular channel to. What ended up occurring, however, was with today. What I saw was so egregious. Normally, you know, I've even put out topics because I've seen ladies who talk about finessing. For example, there's another gentleman in the Black Manosphere who did a video recently on a rapper by the name of Lil Baby, who blew, I think, 16,000 on a woman.
Yeah, on a porn star. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, yo, if y'all gonna really finesse, you know, the pimp can teach these hoes how to finesse too. And instead of just getting $16,000, I could show you how to put it in a financial vehicle where you can smut off that one day and be jizzed on your face, and then you can actually benefit from something other than a bag. I can also show men very many of those things too. But like I said, seeing what was so egregious today and how she tried to make the woman came on and tried to make a mockery of our space, that caused me to create this. My wife right now is traveling from her office in Manhattan back here to Connecticut, where I live, with her best friend, so that she can.
And this is New Haven, right? New Haven, right?
New Haven, Connecticut. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Okay.
They're coming here so that she could spend the weekend with me. It's nothing crazy extravagant. Her friend is just coming for the weekend. It ain't wild threesomes or nothing like that. But you know, it is what it is. But while they're coming here, she's also going to be taking her to the grocery store so that when she and her friend come, her friend and she can cook a meal for me.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that are behind this. Now, my wife submits to me, just like Roger says. That check comes to me. Now, it also, I give her liberty with my money. She knows all my credit cards, all this. Prime example, I just told you, I was in the hospital for the past 2 days. I came home, I checked my account. She spent money on ordering food to eat. Why? Because she was stress eating because I was in the hospital. She couldn't come visit me. But I understand and I allow her that leeway. Ra, I do want to let you go ahead and speak as well.
Peace, man. Glad you're feeling better, man. I told you, you know, like I said, I was gonna shoot you that book, man. I know
that's some awesome reading too.
I know you're gonna tear that shit up because I already know. I had to put it down. I can't read that book until I actually get my license, so I can really fully understand it. But
what book is this?
it was a book on Swiss annuities.
Swiss annuities and life insurance. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go on. All right.
So, I've been saying this, man, since the time that I used to be on Obsidian channel, man. Like, if black men are not going to treat the manosphere, man, like a sacred space, man, then it's pointless. There's no point into it, in doing it. Like, I keep pushing this talking point that men are coming around these spaces for answers. They do not want to hear the same shit they've been hearing their whole lives from their moms. They don't want to hear that shit. They don't want to hear it. We can put it in context for them. We can let them know what the purpose of it was. I mean, I literally just said this yesterday when me and Angry Man was going back and forth. I said, this is a way to gaslight black men and to distract them from what the purpose is. The purpose shouldn't be for a conversation. The purpose should be, if they come, because they're the ones coming here. If you're coming over here to this space, that means you're ready to be cooperative and agreeable and feminine. So what you got to offer? It's not even a debate. There's nothing to debate here. The men that's in these spaces, From what I've seen, most of the men that come into that space, Roger, they're productive black men. What are you trying to have an argument about ain't shit niggas for when you in a space that's not even with those type of men? That's a moot conversation. That we've already debunked that shit. Like that was what the whole Educated Lane and Pookie and Ray Ray debate. That's what that was all about. We've already killed that shit. Now it's time to get to work. So this is why if they want teaching, take their ass over there to Kendra channel. If they really want to be taught as women, they have women channels out there they can go to. They can kindly go over there to Kendra D and learn what they're supposed to learn, because they're the main ones that's been telling us it's not men's place to teach women. Okay, cool. You right. Go. You right. It's women's job to show women how to be women, and it's men's job to show other men how to be men. We're doing that. We're doing our job. But you can't come into the space throwing grenades when that space is not even of that place. This is not the space that's doing that. We're over here showing men, man, that's all we do. I was on a Complex channel last week. And man, I pulled up so many grants that they didn't even know about. I said, man, yo, check out these grants, man. This is stuff that, man, y'all can be moving on right now. And he was like, God damn. So I'm like, these chicks, man, what they're doing, they're telling on themselves. They're saying that the dudes that they pick and they're picking is the ain't shit dudes. And then they try to take that experience and extrapolate it and apply it to all black men. It's the same shit they've been doing for years. Like, that should not be tolerated. I'm sorry, that shit right there should not be tolerated.
Understood.
All of us are, man. He really needs to protect his space, man, because it's men are really coming there for answers. I left a lot of those other channels alone, specifically starting with O'Shea's channel, specifically because I got tired of all that damn Jerry Springer nigga shit. That's the reason why I left those damn channels. Like, the reason why I come to Roger's channel is because we can actually have civil discussions. We all don't always get, agree. Me and Angry Man yesterday, we kind of butted heads at first, but we hashed it out and we saw that, he was like, okay, we on the same accord. I was just saying
the first time I came to Roger's channel, I think everyone didn't agree. Rob, I'm gonna ask you to hold on real quick. I want to get Judge's opening statement.
But go right ahead. I'm actually listening, but I totally agree on what he said. You do have to. Unfortunately, I believe that we expect a little bit more protection of the space because, unfortunately, this is our area to get off our grievances and everything else. No offense, they have everywhere. We only have this space, and the problem is, as soon as we allow them to infiltrate and do too much, I mean, we need to hold them to a higher caliber. Like when they come here, they better be like the police. You know how you hold the police to a higher caliber of what you expect the police officer to act. And that's just, I mean, everybody's got the right to run their stuff the way they want, but I'm just saying is sometimes I understand that you step out of line, don't just, as I said, the nail that stands up gets the hammer.
Afro analyst, yeah, I wanna address that. I think that's very true. Often we do get the build, but they do come disrupting black men while we build. One thing I do think that has to come that comes from again, we mentioned earlier. They look at us through a white supremacist lens, through the Willie Lynch eyes, right? And unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do to really change that, but continue to build and grow. And I think for us who are in our late 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, need to help the young brothers and say, look, people like Arinze, put your foot down. Don't have that patience. Don't have even the patience that Roger has with these women. When we start treating them like men from other ethnicities treat them, we will see. Like I said, a personal example. What was this? 2012. I was working at a company called Aflac. Okay, one of my partners came to my house in an M3 Mercedes, in an BMW. Sorry. He lived in Jamaica Estates, Queens. And I said, wait, how do you live with all of your family? He said, well, my father is the Donald Trump of Pakistan. He's worth about 1 billion rupees, which is about 10 million American. But he owns all of the real estate in Pakistan. He said, and all of my sisters had to be married to their husbands and move in with us. And, we slept them around every day. Like, it's not like they literally, if their meal is not cooked, they get what you would call a papow. They get slapped across their mouth.
Yeah.
Till sometimes the point of bleeding. And then they have to suck that blood up, put on their hijab, and go out in the community and support their man unyieldingly, which is something that we don't ask for, which is why statistically black men are the second most desired man behind white men, because white men, have gone over and killed everything.
No, they'll put their foot in their ass or other forms of, punishment, reward and punishment.
Exactly.
But yeah. So, and that's the one of the things that while other groups of women, that's what they really expect when they deal with a black man. On the average, they said, you have been trained into a matriarchal mind. That's why we'll deal with you, because you won't give me a certain, like my other group of men will do too, if we don't comply. You get me? Well, I think there should be a standard from all men, especially men. Standards got to be a little bit higher, because a lot of women should not be feeling of any ease, in my opinion. But go on.
Let me say this. I don't know if y'all ever seen the documentary "Frustrated" by Al Greaves, but
No.
It's a great documentary. It's a must see. He was being interviewed by a black female radio host, and it was like 2 other black females on this particular show. And he was talking about why he made Frustrated. Obviously the women, were pushing back. They didn't really like some of the things he was saying. And then towards the end, one of the black women asked him a very profound question. She asked him, what do you love about black women? She said, what do y'all love about black women? She's like, because I'm hearing about all the stuff that you don't like. She's like, what do you love about black women? And the silence that came over that damn stream was priceless, because those dudes could not even say why they love black women. Because to answer that question, you would have to say the attributes of a woman besides sex, put the sex to the side, that makes her a woman. And they could not answer the question. And it made me laugh, because when I was in a relationship with this one particular chick, she asked me the very same question. She asked me, what do you love about me? And I basically had to do what them dudes did at that particular time and bullshit my way through the answer, because I literally could not come up with an answer. Because toward the end of the relationship, I had to ask myself, if this sex wasn't so good and this head wasn't so good, would I be putting up with this shit from this chick? And I was like, hell no. So that let me know, like, I was more into the relationship for the physical aspect of it than the emotional side of it. She has some good qualities about herself, she has some, but I always say that if a woman, if the good outweighs the bad, then you can work on the good. But if the woman's bad outweighs the good, they ain't even nothing to talk about. And that's why I kind of cringe when I hear, Roger say he loved him, because I'm like, love is something that you just don't flippantly just give away just cause. Mm-hmm. You don't just give away. You don't give love away like that. Love is earned, and love is earned through behavior that warrants whatever warrants that particular person who is seeking it to actually get it. It's a performance. Love is a verb. You know what I'm saying? It's not a noun. It's a verb.
So speaking of love, Ra, I wanna backtrack this really quick, because what I want to do is something that I love, and I think we all here love, because gentlemen like Sheed, we here have gotten on and said, look, I want to get to the money. And I think that's one thing that that we all love here. And out of respect to something that I was doing a little while back, Rob, I want to get back to a definition of the hedge funds that we were talking about, because you asked specifically about, the tax implications.
Right.
And while we can sit here and advocate about Black women, realistically, I don't know if y'all saw in the back chat when I was talking with Trinity, but I explained to her, she sounded like a $60 over under. She sounded like a chick that behind my wife's back, with her knowing, I would go spend $100, even though the girl only charges $40, to have me a few 15 minutes with a little young hottie. Boom. Jizz on her face, send her on the way, give her $100, see her in the street many times because she happens to live around the corner from me, but not address her as a human being because she's beneath me.
You picked up on it too. I picked up on the same thing.
Yeah. So I was like, wow. But anyway, we don't need to speak of those things that are beneath us. What we are here is we're going to look at some of the things that we do use, that we build with, that we may not all be familiar with. So I want to go back to hedge funds because, again, the hedge fund is something that, like I said, for example, with mine, when I started, I haven't yet. The minimum you're going to enter with is $50,000, and it's a 1 year holding period. So you have to put $50,000 and expect to leave that $50K with me for 1 year if you're going to enter into my hedge fund. There are other hedge funds that have a lower starting point. I was interested in starting one that starts at $10,000, especially in Black men's space. Number one, to build trust. Number two, because dropping 50 grand isn't something that's easy for most brothers. But let's look at taxing hedge fund profits. And this is from Investopedia. See, this is the disrespect Black women don't want, because what they want is us to be triggered by their BS. Mm-hmm. They don't want us to turn around and say, okay, bitch, learn something. So we're going to take them to economics. Taxing hedge fund profits. So when a domestic U.S. hedge fund returns profits to its investors, the money is subject to capital gains tax. So everybody knows what capital gains tax is? Uh-huh. Okay. Capital gains tax is a tax that you pay to the IRS on investments. Now, generally, it's lower than income tax. So this is why something like a Roth IRA or your 401k, which is dollars that come out of your check before taxes, it sounds great because it's tax deferred. So you're like, wow, well, I'll just pay tax later on that. And you're thinking you'll pay taxes later in life when you're at a lower income tax bracket. However, because you didn't pay income tax on it while you were paying income tax, when you're in the future, let's say in your 60s or your 70s, and you're retired, no longer able to earn an income, and you're paying a lower tax percentage and you're in a lower tax bracket, those monies that you receive from that Roth IRA or that 401k will have to be taxed as traditional income tax at whatever the rate income tax is at the time you're receiving those funds, because you didn't pay taxes on them in the past. Whereas, let's say a traditional IRA where you're paying after you've gotten the money, it's in your paycheck, and now you're taking money that you've already got taxed on and putting it in there. Well, now that's actually, you're saving yourself on taxes twice, because you can use it as a tax write-off. And when you get taxed on it, you're taxed at capital gains. So currently, income tax is for people who are in the 60,000+ range, about 33%. Okay. I believe actually if you're at 52,000 plus, you're at 33% tax. I wish Black Uru was here, because he could definitely correct me on that, because he's a CPA. But if you are getting capital gains is currently taxed at 20%. So would you rather that's an extra 13% of your money you're losing out on. So we definitely want to have that capital gains tax as opposed to regular. So when a domestic U.S. hedge fund returns profits to its investors, the money is subject to capital gains tax. The short-term capital gains rate applies to profits on investments held for less than 1 year, and it is the same as the investor's tax rate on ordinary income. For investments held for more than 1 year, the rate is not more than 15% for most taxpayers, but it can go as high as 20% in high tax brackets. This tax applies to both U.S. and foreign investors. An offshore hedge fund is established outside of the United States, and that, for specifically for you getting licensed, that's going to be known as a foreign entity, or it says here foreign investor, but foreign entity. So an offshore hedge fund is established outside the U.S., usually in a low tax or a tax-free country. It accepts investments from foreign investors and tax-exempt U.S. entities, such as the U.S. Virgin Islands. These investors do not incur any U.S. tax liabilities on the distributed profits. Any questions at all, gentlemen? None. Okay, wonderful. Anytime you do have any questions, concerns, or comments, panel, I do want you to hop in and speak.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So, is there something specifically in the tax law that makes it to where you're not having to pay, where you're tax exempt for being offshore?
Where you're completely tax exempt for being offshore is what you're asking. Like you're I mean, actually, yeah, you actually typed it right there, because that second paragraph is mean, and it's going to show you ways that you can. It's not exactly written in the IRC, which is the Internal Revenue Code, if that's what you're asking, that you can avoid it. What it is it's not written in the IRC. So that's how you have things like Donald Trump paying $750 a year in taxes. Why? Likely he had offshore investments. He likely also had a life insurance policy that wasn't for a death benefit, but it's a tax shelter where you stuff hundreds of thousands of dollars in it and then take those hundreds of thousands of dollars tax-free while you're still alive a year later.
Okay, so anytime somebody, that's the clarification I was looking for. So anytime people go into the process of setting up a hedge fund, it's going to be offshore from the jump.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. My hedge fund will be here in the States.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know from the research I've done, I know in the U.S. Virgin Islands, because with the tax code, and when Obama was in office, he was passed getting all those regulations to where they were trying to get at people's money globally, and in the U.S. Virgin Islands, I think it's a territory, so it doesn't fall under the tax jurisdiction of the United States. It has its own separate tax structure. So many people use that as a way to basically offshore, but not be charged with stuff like evading taxes and stuff like that, based on the way it's written for the U.S. Virgin Islands specifically. Yeah.
But you have to be careful there. And I do want to disclaim that. You have to be very careful there, because there are a lot of, for example, I'll say Bernie Madoff situations.
Right.
That can arrive from that. So you have to be very, very careful, clear, and concise. And there is a lot of regulation. There's things like FINRA. There's things like the SEC. There's a whole bunch, and then when you're getting into different markets, like, I look at a lot of people who are doing Forex, but they don't have certain licenses and they don't know what the NK is. You can't do Forex and not know what the NK is. It's just, that's like, saying you play basketball, but don't know what the free throw line is. And it's like, then you're not playing basketball. The NK is a Chinese or an Asian stock market. But it says here, this is actually going to be part of what you were talking about. So ways that hedge funds avoid taxes. So many hedge funds are structured to take advantage of carried interests. Under this structure, a fund is treated as a partnership. The founders and fund managers are the general partners, while the investors are limited partners. The founders also own the management company that runs the hedge fund. The managers can earn the 20% performance fee of the carried interest as the general partner of the fund. Hedge fund managers are compensated with this carried interest. Their income from the fund is taxed as a return on investment as opposed to a salary or compensation for services rendered. The incentive fee is taxed at the long-term capital gains rate of 20% as opposed to the ordinary income tax where the top rate is 39.6%. So this represents significant tax savings for hedge fund managers. Okay. The business arrangement has its critics who say that the structure is a loophole that allows hedge funds to avoid paying taxes. The carried interest rule has not yet been overturned despite multiple attempts in Congress, and it did become a topical issue during the 2016 primary election, which is why a lot of black men voted for Donald Trump, which is why right now Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are agreed with by a lot of financial advisors because they are going to put a heavy tax on your 401ks. What does that mean for a financial advisor like me? That means that in 2 months, I roll over $125,000 worth of 401ks because people are afraid of what's going on with their 401k. Right? So that's a great thing for people in this industry. It's also a great thing for you out there in the world because now you have the opportunity to actually control the allocations of your assets by coming to a private fund manager like myself or like Rael. And we can actually help you to manage your funds. Rael, I know you don't have your license yet, but I'm speaking it into existence. And that's also why I wanted to speak to Black Uru, because he's a CPA and he can actually come into the fold with us. It's very much like an attorney getting their real estate broker's license. He has to go through less training. But in order to know how to use this stuff or properly implement it, you need the proper training, which is someone like myself who's going to show you the loopholes of how to actually make it happen.
Yeah, I've really been wanting to hear Black Uru talk about stuff like that, as far as like taxes and stuff like that, to really kind of break it down for brothers, because I didn't know until maybe a few months ago that he was a CPA. So I was really like, wow, like, okay. So that part right there, as far as the business arrangement part, is some very powerful shit, man.
Yeah.
It is very
That's why I told him I wanted to speak to him. Because I have another buddy who's a CPA, and like I said, as a CPA, once you go to he has his insurance license because he's a CPA. So all he has to do is, depending on his state that he's admitted as a CPA in, he can be licensed for insurance in that state. I have many friends who are CPAs who do that. Yet they're still my clients. They just they do is they send me their clients, and because they're licensed, they can get paid a commission. But they don't really want to have the hassle of learning this business because they're learning the accounting. But why not go, hey, I got this big box client here. Go deal with all this guy for the financial stuff. And by the way, give me 20% commission on whatever you do.
Right.
That's why I work with CPAs. It's a value add. That's why I also have my insurance license. And I actually am a tax preparer. I have my PTIN, which is my tax preparer's identification number. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Not to the extent of Black Uru. I would never disrespect his craft because he has forgotten more than I have learned when it comes to accounting and things of that nature. Now, it's different when it comes to taxation. But accounting and taxation are two different things. So just because someone is an accountant does not imply that they are adept at taxation.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that he's not. It usually implies that they do have some form of skill in taxation. But you can actually get a degree in accounting or a degree in taxation.
Or you can get well, I'm not sure you can have like enroll agent classification.
You can have that as well.
Yeah, and that's actually it's a little bit more versatile, because once you get that federal enroll agent classification, you can go in any tax jurisdiction in the United States and operate. You don't have to take a test in this state and that state. It's federal, so it covers all jurisdictions.
Exactly. Now, see, this is $1 million worth of game, gentlemen. I hope y'all got y'all notebooks out and y'all scrapping it up, because I know we was talking about this disrespect that the black woman accepts, but the black man is not accepted yet anymore.
Go back to the tax talk.
All right, pivot then back to the tax talk. So, where were we here? This business arrangement has its so many prominent hedge funds use reinsurance. So, y'all, real quick, I want to talk about reinsurance. When I was going to get my property and casualty license, I met a young white boy whose father was the president of a reinsurance company. Reinsurance is things like the Lloyds of London, who reinsure companies that you may have heard of, like MetLife or New York Life, or what's another big one? Mutual of Omaha, Prudential, Pacific Life, John Hancock. All these companies have what's called reinsurance. So they are going and buying insurance on the insurance that they are insuring you with, because they're saying in worst case scenario.
Are you serious?
Yes. I do want to get my reinsurance license.
They when they make the money, they do. What do you think they do with it? They reinvest it. I have a book a friend told me that I'm a reference after the end of the stream for people to buy and purchase to get better understanding insurance. But go on.
But yeah, so they do reinsurance, which is Lloyd's of London is the largest reinsurer on the planet. And the Lloyd's of London does all sorts of insurance. For example, they did Tina Turner's, I think her voice, Jennifer Lopez's legs. You know, so insurance is about protecting a loss, and it's about what's called indemnification, or making someone whole from a loss. So as you'll see, it says many prominent hedge funds use reinsurance businesses in Bermuda as another way to reduce their tax liabilities. Bermuda does not charge a corporate income tax. So hedge funds set up their own reinsurance companies in Bermuda. The hedge funds then send money to the reinsurance companies in Bermuda. These reinsurers, in turn, invest those funds back into the hedge funds. Any profits from the hedge funds go to the reinsurers in Bermuda, where they owe no corporate income tax. The profits from the hedge fund investments go without any tax liability. Taxes are only owed once the investors sell their stake in the reinsurers. The business in Bermuda must be an insurance business. Any other type of business would likely incur penalties from the U.S. Internal Revenue Service for passive foreign investment companies. The IRS defines insurance as an active business. To qualify as an active business, the reinsurance company cannot have a pool of capital that is much larger than what it needs to back the insurance that it sells. It is unclear what this standard is, as it has not yet been defined by the IRS in the IRC or Internal Revenue Code. So, Ra, I'm going to let you speak, because you said that second paragraph is mean, so you must have read it. I want your take, and then actually, hold on. Judge Dre, I believe you are the elder statesman here. So I'd like to ask, number one, what you think of things like this, and any advice that you would give to younger brothers listening.
The advice I would give younger brothers listening is sit there and learn. You know, don't get sidetracked and all the other things. Like I said, somebody gonna show you something, go sit there and learn. Like I said, I didn't know about these tax codes and stuff like that. Why do you think I was listening? Then you went away from it. What did I tell you? Go right back to it.
He said, I don't want to talk about it. Get back to the taxes.
Because I mean, the best thing you can do with your money, you'll never replace. You will never make as much money as you can by the money being reinvested than you can by, say, working a 9 to 5.
Most people, most rich people, they live off of reinvesting and they making their money work for them, not them working for their money. But go ahead.
Exactly. So thank you very much, Judge Dre. I just wanted to make sure that, coming from an elder statesman, that y'all understand what he said was make sure that you sit there and listen. He found out some stuff that he didn't quite know. And you can always teach new tricks. So I'm going to continue reading this because I think this is something that, fuck it, I'm interested in. And if I'm going to the Roger Report and I see all these other black men interested in the same thing, I'm assuming y'all are interested in this too. So oh my God, they're mentioning my favorite. I think y'all remember this when I said the last time I was talking about Rajaratnam. So his group is Galleon Group, which was a Ponzi scheme. I'm sorry, I just got real excited. If y'all watch MSNBC at all, there's a couple of shows you should be watching. I watch MSNBC because I watch Opening Bells, Walk on the Street, Close. I'm a financial advisor, so I watch this shit all the time.
Yeah, it's a great show.
But yeah, I watch The Prophet, which is a great show. Shark
Yeah,
Tank.
I love The Prophet. I love that shit.
And do you watch American Greed?
Yes, I watch both of them.
Okay.
Oh, I
So
love all
American
those
Greed is
shows.
my favorite fucking show. Y'all gotta watch that shit, right? And so they talk about Rajaratnam, and he's I like his name as well, but he's one of my favorite Ponzi scheme people. And so we're gonna read that now. So hedge fund controversies. A number of hedge funds have been implicated in insider trading scandals since 2008. One of the most high-profile insider trading cases involved the Galleon Group, managed by the infamous Rajaratnam. The Galleon Group managed over $7 billion at its peak. And he used to slap the shit out of bitches, but it managed over $7 billion at its peak before being forced to close in 2009. The firm was founded in 1997 by Rajaratnam. In 2009, federal prosecutors charged Rajaratnam with multiple counts of fraud and insider trading. He was convicted on 14 charges in 2011 and began serving an 11-year sentence. Many Galleon Group employees were also convicted in the scandal. Rajaratnam was caught obtaining insider information from Rajat Gupta, a board member of Goldman Sachs. Which is why we hate GS. If you'll know, I'm an independent financial advisor. I hate Goldman Sachs members, and I hate Charles Schwab guys. If you fuck with Morgan Stanley, I'm cool with you. But I hate Schwab, and I hate Goldman Sachs. It's just something personal. But if you work with them, you're fine. They're managing your money fine. But fuck them guys, personally. But before the news was made public, Gupta allegedly passed on information that Warren Buffett was making an investment in Goldman Sachs in September of 2008 at the height of the financial crisis. Rajaratnam was able to buy substantial amounts of Goldman Sachs stock and make a hefty profit on those shares today. And I think Goldman Sachs is only like $145 a share right now. It's not that expensive. Or it might be $154. I got to double check. Also, FYI, Morgan Stanley just bought E-Trade for a couple billion. I think it was
wow, for real? Damn.
Yeah. So Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, Dean Witter, all those are now owned by Morgan Stanley. Smith Barney, Dean Witter. I can't think. There's a few others. Those are all owned by Morgan Stanley. And now E-Trade, they're keeping their name E-Trade and they're branding E-Trade, so you won't know that they're absorbed. But E-Trade belongs to Morgan Stanley now.
Wow.
Okay, so Rajaratnam was also convicted on other insider trading charges throughout his tenure as a fund manager. He cultivated a group of industry insiders to gain access to material information. So FYI, guys, insider information is really easy to get caught up in insider information. You could be related to somebody who's a janitor and they overheard one of the morning meetings and then they say something to you and you make a trade based on that information. Technically, that's insider information. Now, the information that I just gave you guys about E-Trade being bought by Morgan Stanley, that's not insider information. Well, technically it is for me because of who I got the information from. But because you guys, I'm not an inside source, you guys can make a trade based on that and it would not be insider information. I might lose my license or livelihood from it, but you guys would be okay. So if you're going to go make those trades, go ahead. It's okay. I won't worry about it. Just don't sue me. I've been sued once for $1 million. She won $410,000. I'm still paying for that. Regulations for hedge funds. So hedge funds are so big and powerful that the SEC is starting to pay closer attention. Prior, hedge funds were not regulated by SEC or FINRA. So that's why they had a lot of those holding where they could say, look, you drop 50,000 or go walk somewhere else and you got to leave it with me for a year. They're starting to regulate that and make it pull back on that so that you can't make as many staunch rules as you want to with a hedge fund. But a lot of that regulation isn't there, which is why hedge funds become so liquid. But the SEC is starting to pay closer attention, particularly because breaches such as insider trading and fraud seem to be occurring much more frequently. However, a recent act has actually loosened the way that hedge funds can market their vehicle to investors. In March 2012, the Jobs Act, or Jumpstart Our Businesses Startup Act, was signed into law. The basic premise of the Jobs Act was to encourage the funding of small businesses in the U.S. by easing securities regulation. The Jobs Act also had a major impact on hedge funds. In September 2013, the ban on hedge fund advertising was lifted. In a 4-to-1 vote, the SEC approved a motion to allow hedge funds and other firms to create private offerings to advertise to whomever they want, but they can still only accept investments from accredited investors. Hedge funds are often key suppliers of capital to startups and small businesses because of their wide investment latitude. Giving hedge funds the opportunity to solicit capital would in effect help the growth of small businesses by increasing the pool of available investment capital.
God damn. This shit is powerful shit, boy.
Yeah, I want to read your article, but I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna just read this.
Boy.
Because I've got some other articles too, brother, and I'm gonna show y'all.
Do you think the Shark Tank? Do you think Shark Tank is set up as a hedge fund?
No. That's just a TV show. I think behind the scenes, Disney is set up as a hedge fund.
Because they are venture capitalists up there.
Yeah, Disney is set up as a hedge fund, but Shark Tank, the show, isn't. But remember, ABC, which is Disney, owns that. So
yeah, but I'm saying though, the people that's up there, they can have something structured like that behind the scenes.
I don't know
like
how
for the public it can be just a TV show.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
but how they get theirs, it can be set up like that. So it's just real. This is some powerful shit, man.
Well, you figure they're mingling money. Like let's look at. Like, you know, people will be up there and they disagree. Like Kevin, Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful, yeah.
And Damon John. They fight tooth and nail, but they have a couple of businesses together and they put that shit aside.
Uh-huh.
They go get that money together. And then once they're done signing that contract, you see Damon be like, you bitch motherfucker, people, come to my neighborhood. We'll rob you. But then he turns around. Oh, can't come to the hood right now. We got to go get this money. And then they go off and they sign off on that deal. So I'm sure there are some agreements on the side, but I don't think all of those together would come under one fund. Because, for example, Mr. Wonderful has his own fund. And I know Hersevek has his own fund. And that's how the richest one of them all, which is Mark Cuban, who actually has the most wealth of them all, doesn't participate in those funds. I don't know why he doesn't, but he doesn't on his end. But then if you look at things like, and this is why, like you look at Dave Ramsey or Sue Zorman, who advise buy term insurance and invest the rest. Dave Ramsey, who in the housewives world, Sue Zorman's big, but in the financial world, Dave Ramsey is huge. And he advocates against whole life insurance or cash value life insurance, but his largest asset and his largest holdings is a cash value life insurance policy. Because life insurance companies have been dividend paying for over 120 years. They're the only fucking company that's been around consistently paying dividends for over 100 years. But anyway, so hedge fund advertising entails offering the fund's investment products to accredited investors or financial intermediaries, which would be independent agents who want to sell the product. Like a guy at Charles Schwab, because Schwab guys are independent agents, even though they put a lot of their money in Schwab. But if you're an advisor with Charles Schwab, you're independent. It's just, I personally, I got a lot of business stolen from me from Schwab. So that's why I don't like those guys. But television and the internet. A hedge fund that wants to solicit or advertise to investors must file the Form D with the Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, at least 15 days before it starts advertising. Because hedge fund advertising was strictly prohibited before lifting this ban, the SEC is very interested in how the advertising is being used by private issuers. So it has made changes to Form D filings. Funds that make public solicitations will also need to file an amended Form D within 30 days of the offering's termination. Failure to follow these rules will likely result in the ban from creating additional securities for a year or more. So post 2008, chasing the S&P, or the Standard & Poor's 500. So gentlemen, we're all familiar with Moody's, Standard & Poor's, AM Best, correct? Okay. Did we know that Moody's, even though Standard & Poor's is an indice, their main job is credit worthiness and credit rating, correct?
Credit rating, yeah.
Okay. Just like Moody's and just like AM Best. So again, you'll notice that the financial strength of even like Fidelity or your investment companies is nowhere near as strong as the financial strength of your insurance companies. And the financial strength of your country during the Obama administration was decreased from an A or a triple A to, I believe, an A minus. So America's got fucked up credit right now, which is why we're being owned by China soon. But the S&P, or chasing the S&P, there's also life insurance that's tied to or mirrors the S&P 500. But it says post 2008, chasing the S&P. Since the 2008 crisis, the hedge fund world has entered into another period of less than stellar returns. Many funds that had previously enjoyed double-digit returns during an average year have seen their profits diminish significantly. In many cases, funds have failed to match the returns of the S&P 500. For investors considering where to place their money, this becomes an increasingly easy decision. Why suffer the high fees and initial investments, the added risk, and the withdrawal limitations of hedge funds if a safer, simpler investment like a mutual fund can produce returns that are the same, or in some cases even stronger? In many cases, there are many reasons why hedge funds have struggled in recent years. These reasons run the gauntlet from geopolitical tensions around the globe to an over-reliance among many funds on particular sectors, including technology and interest rate hikes by the Fed. Many prominent fund managers have made highly publicized bad bets, which have cost them not only monetarily, but in terms of their reputations as savvy fund leaders too. David Einhorn is an example of this approach. Einhorn's firm, Greenlight Capital, bet against Allied Capital early on and Lehman Brothers during the financial crisis. Those high-profile bets were successful and earned Einhorn the reputation of a shrewd investor. However, the firm posted losses of 34%, its worst year ever, in 2018, on the back of shorts against Amazon, which recently became the second trillion-dollar company after Apple, and holdings in General Motors, which posted a less than stellar 2018. Notably, the overall size of the hedge fund industry in terms of assets under management, or AUM, has not declined significantly during this period and has continued to grow. There are new hedge funds launching all the time, and even several in the past 10 years have seen record number of hedge fund closures. So what we got here, fellas, is basically, these hedge funds are definitely something nice to look at. Great to get in, and anybody who wants to drop their information, definitely drop their information. Any comments, fellas, before I get to wrapping this up, because we've been up here for an hour and this is a lot of information.
No, I was just listening.
I could go more if you want. I don't mind. It seems to be enjoyable.
I feel like you said I lost 34%. I mean, goddamn, I know that they were pissed.
Yeah, that's a hefty loss.
Hell yeah. I mean, think about it. You lose over 10, it's bad, but 30? Oh. I mean, oh man. I think when I think of numbers that high, I think of like people their wages being garnished. And child support, you say 30.
Yeah, that's like child support. 17
Right.
child. I'll tell you what, though, and this goes back to I want to talk about so obviously Raj Rajaratnam was one of my favorite Chronicle Ponzi schemes. Another one that's ironic is everyone's familiar with Bernie Madoff. And if you did not know, there's actually there's an IRC, or Internal Revenue Code, that has been made that they call the Madoff Rule. Because this man had such implications on people that today there are still people dealing with internal revenue audits that are going through it because of Bernie Madoff. And what he did was, first, he became wealthy before he decided to scam people. So Black folks, get out your head that if a brother ain't got money, that he's trying to scam you, because likely he ain't got enough money to make it worth your while for him to scam you. Bernie Madoff was a billionaire and then decided to open a Chase bank account, a holding account, like one that I have, and just started depositing people's money into it. That's all. And he was promising them returns that they weren't getting because he was just putting it in a bank account that doesn't have a lot of interest. And what ended up happening was, the only reason the fund fell apart was because 2008 happened and people started getting afraid and asking for large sums of their money. If nobody started asking for 5 million here, 7 million there, $1 billion here, 500 million there, Bernie Madoff the regular average American would not know who Bernie Madoff is. Just like the average American does not know what something called PIMCO is. In fact, I want to see while I'm at it if I can do that. PIMCO.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know who he was until I was watching one of the scam shows and how he did it. Yeah, I didn't know who he was until then. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie. And if it wasn't for a documentary I'd watched, I would never knew. And I mean, just like I Love You, Philip Morris. Like, you see, those intelligent people found ways to make money. And
yes, they always will. Oh, what just happened here? Did I hop off? Dre, you fell off there for a second. All right. Well, while I'm at it, I want to show you guys PIMCO. And PIMCO is the largest mutual fund on the planet. Okay. So as you can see here, it would ask, tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome to PIMCO. Now, I am a financial advisor, so I would click here. Nobody would be an institutional investor unless we were to come as a group. I don't think anyone here is an institutional investor, so We won't assume that. But you would likely come as an individual investor. So myself, I'm going to go as a financial advisor. They're probably going to ask for my licensure and stuff. What's going on, PIMCO? The website is moving fairly slow. Okay. So if you'll notice here, it's saying that Morningstar, which is another investment company, upgrades PIMCO income fund to gold. Again, PIMCO is the largest mutual fund on the planet. Now, I would go here as a financial professional. I'm not yet an RIA, but I am a financial advisor. I, as a broker, would take you here as a customer. And I, as a broker, would probably bring you here as opposed to bringing you to Charles Schwab. Okay. Again, each investment advisor is going to have their own strategy as to where they're going to bring you for investments. But, again, let's see if I click here for a financial advisor. It's for some odd reason, it's going very, very slow. I probably have too many windows open. But, I can do 2020 year end planning. Like it says, now, again, this is coming from the salesperson's point of view. And I also want to mention to people, when you're looking at your financial professional, we're not salespeople. Yes, we make money off of selling you a product, but if you'll notice, it's advisory here. And we mainly get paid off of advisory fees by you coming and telling us what the fuck it is you want your money to do. And then we tell you what the fuck you can put your money in that can make your money do it. I'm not here to sell you anything. So get that out of your head that your financial advisor is a salesperson. He's not. And unfortunately, in the Black community, we've been taught that an insurance agent or a financial advisor is a salesperson. No, I ain't trying to sell you shit because it's intangible. A real estate agent is a salesperson. He's trying to sell you on that house or that apartment so that you can go to your friends and say, hey, here's my shiny house. You're not going to go to your friends and say, hey, here's my shiny portfolio. You're generally going to want to hide that. But if you'll notice here, it says make the best of end of year conversations. It'll show us some charts and things as a financial advisor on different options and things that I can bring to you, my client. And so, Rod, these are also places that you're going to want to be able to go into. While I'm at it, I'll bring you into another back office of mine, which is WinFlex, because I often show another back office of mine, which is, okay. So WinFlex, as you'll see here, a few of the companies that I represent are some very reputable companies. Security Mutual Life of New York, which if you're familiar with New York, Security Mutual is the company that is attached to the credit union, MCU, Municipal Credit Union. Okay, so then we'll also see here that I have Equitable, which used to be AXA Equitable, but Equitable Financial. I also write business for Nationwide. I can also write business for Prudential. These are large, reputable companies, okay, that I have a contract with and am able to write business with. And I don't know how large you can see my name here. I'll enlarge the screen. I have no fear of anything because just like Kevin Samuel says, living that LinkedIn lifestyle and, being transparent, I'm the same guy. I do the blue blazer because I wear blue blazers and, for protection, because I am saying some crazy stuff in these spaces. But at the end of the day, what do I have here? The average premium, 119K, average death benefit, 2.7 million. Total WinFlex runs 365,000. This is my back office. So this is what I'm doing. And I'm here helping try to build, just like a lot of you other Black men are helping try to build. And these are the things that you're not privy to. So these are the things that behind the scenes are what pains me. And a lot of this stuff pains me because, like I said, and I'm going to bring it back to the wealth, but I fell victim to trying to be a Pookie and Ray Ray to impress the Black woman. So then I went out there and got shot 5 times in Winston-Salem in the Trey Foe. because I was out there kicking up dust, trying to sell weed to be popular for some hair-hatted hooligan who 10 years later sees me in Walmart with a carriage full of kids and wants to flag me down. Well, now they see the error in their ways. So let's make sure that we teach this type of stuff to the younger gentlemen so that when we're 60, we're not just finding out about Bernie Madoff from a documentary. So that when we're 16, we know about Bernie Madoff. So that when we're 20, we can make these decisions. And that when we're 21 and 25, we're not getting hit with bullets from a gun. But we're sitting here and we're getting hit with bullet points of achievements that we have made as progressive and powerful Black men, and that those who want to try and wage a war against us, which they are, will be unsuccessful because they can't find a chink in our armor. So again, being right and exact, we are going to, as another YouTuber says, she puts her foot on the neck of the gynocracy. We are going to put our foot on the neck of mediocrity. Period. Get down to lay down. Rod, you have...
Yeah, man, this is great information. I never even heard about this software that you just you put up. You already know, man, what it is. At the end of the day, people gonna hate. Andre 3000 said years ago, if they ain't hating, you ain't doing something right. So, but let people hate for the right reasons. Let them hate success. The truth of the matter is that women look like fools arguing with and trying to argue with and arguing about productive men. Because the conversation is not that they don't exist. The question becomes why you can't get one, which is what Kevin is constantly showing these females who want to make that argument. Well, there's not enough. You don't need enough. You need one. Can you get one? And that's why, I've been really pushing in these spaces that we need to be more financial. Our approach needs to be financial, business, from that perspective. Because the truth of the matter is, when we're moving in that vein and we're successful and getting caked up, on that fly shit, man, the women, man, they can't say anything. They look like fools talking. Like, there's nothing like getting G'd up, smelling good, gear on point, fly money right, and you come around women and you can just tell that they are just intimidated, because that's what you're supposed to do. Men are supposed to intimidate women. We're supposed to. That's natural. That's what they're supposed to submit to. That intimidation from a value standpoint, from a productivity standpoint, you're just on point. So if they don't submit to that, if they don't submit to productivity, they're the fools. We're not the fools for not choosing them. So great information. Behind the scenes, we've talked, man. So you know where we trying to go and where we're going to be going. So we doing charity right now. We giving out information, man, and it's gonna come back to us, man. Tenfold, man. We gonna get this money, man, and that's just what it's gonna be. The rest of that shit is for the birds.
I think that's a fact. You know what, gentlemen? If anybody else wants to come up, because I noticed, I'll drop the link. If anybody does want to come up real quick and speak or ask any questions, especially when it comes to like this financial stuff, please, if you have questions, gentlemen, don't be afraid. Now is the time to come and ask questions. I understand it's difficult to ask questions because it may be very specific to your particular, But if you can make it vague and say, hey, I have a question about ABC, XYZ, or if you even want to be very specific and say, hey, I have ABC, XYZ situation. Trust me, we can also, do a full financial sit down. You know what, Ron? I think in the honor of time, I don't want to end right now because I think there's a lot of gentlemen who are getting a benefit from this. And I want to be able to show one more thing while I've got a couple of eyes looking at it.
Yeah,
and the one thing that I want you
keep going.
Okay. So the one thing I want y'all to see, actually, do me a favor, Ra. I'm pulling up my email as we speak. So as someone who is new into this industry or not yet fully into this industry, I remember we had a few conversations a couple weeks back, and I told you you're going to want to focus on specifically what product you're selling when it comes from just an insurance product. Have you had the opportunity to think of, or just now from seeing this information, has that helped you look towards a particular?
Say that last part. I didn't quite hear that last part.
Have you explored a particular niche or niche product in terms of insurance that you may want to focus?
Well, I had planned on doing two things. I had planned on getting life and health insurance licenses, and then I also wanted to get my financial advisor license. So my focus was going to be specifically from the wealth management aspect of things. That's the focus that I wanted to have. In terms of helping people, best ways to accrue and preserve wealth. That's the angle that I wanted to come at it from.
Okay, that's fair. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna show y'all something that's called a fact finder, and I've noticed, and again, something else that was said this morning that I want to keep this to, and respect to the Roger Report for saying so, is the Black manosphere. I don't know what goes on in the white manosphere, the Asian manosphere, the Chinese manosphere, the Latino man. I ain't worried about them. I'm worried about the Black manosphere. So one thing that I've noticed as a financial advisor going into Black homes is that the fact-finding session is something that's devalued and not understood as to why we do it. So I'm going to go over briefly, not even a full fact finder, but just to start as to why it's done. And part of that reason is because here we are identifying and protecting your lifestyle. So everybody's seen this before, but we're going to call him the Blue Blazer. And as you can see, this is presented by me. Now, Mr. Blazer was born December 23rd, 1978. What does that make him? 41? So 41-year-old man, right? Now, this 41-year-old man is a self-employed real estate owner with two children, okay? And this self-employed real estate owner doesn't have a will, doesn't have an attorney, and doesn't have an accountant. But he's self-employed, and he has an annual income of $400,000, which I did erase accidentally, but I'll show you how he has an annual income of $400,000. Sorry. His business is $400,000. He pays himself $150,000. So that's an annual income of $400,000. Why? Because his business makes $250,000 and he makes $150,000. So that's a total of $400,000. Now, if you look here, this man has savings and investments. Let's look here. He has $100,000 in savings. He has $180,000 investments. He has $1.5 million worth of real estate that he owns. So his assets are $1.78 million. And then you take his liabilities of $50K, a $400K mortgage, $60K in credit cards. He's got a total liability of $510,000. So that breaks his total net worth down to about 1.2 million. Now, if we look at his life insurance, right? He has a policy, $360,000, that he pays $300 a year. So as a financial advisor that tells me it's a term policy that he got, he doesn't know. He knows he got it in the year 2000. So I put January 1, 2000, because we don't know when he got it. But if that's a 20-year term, which most likely it is, because that's the most popular life insurance policy sold, is a 20-year term, because people shop for insurance based on price as opposed to based on value. Now, I'll tell you again, when someone asks you how much life insurance is, ask them how much is a Benz. And then they'll say, well, it depends on what Benz you get. If you get the A series or the C class or the E class or the, well, how much is life insurance? Well, that depends on what policy you get. If you get the A series, if you get the C series, if you get the E series, if you get the M series, if you get the Maybach. Well, it also costs more if you get the S class, but you get an AMG S class. So again, there's going to be different bells and whistles on different policies. So now let's look. $360,000 doesn't even cover his total liabilities of $510,000. So if he died along the way, his daughters were left uncovered, because this liability, well, this all has to be passed down a certain way. And we don't know that their age of majority. There's a whole lot of things that he hasn't really done to actually protect his lifestyle. But here we've identified his lifestyle, and we've identified what we need to protect here. Now I'm going to show you something else. Lifehappens.org, which is a not-for-profit company that we would go to. And we would go to calculators. And we do his human life value calculator. Okay. Now, his annual income earned was, like we saw, $150,000. Right? Years into retirement. He's 41, so that's likely what? Let's say he's going to retire at 65. We'll say 66. So 25 years into retirement. We know he's not at a 25% tax rate. Let's assume he's at a 33% tax rate. Now, currently, he had $360,000 of life insurance that is set to go away. He's got $100,000 in savings. And his other assets was what, $1 million in real estate? Let's go ahead and click next here. So with everything that he's got, his human life value till the day he retires is $4.051 million. Minus his resources of $1.46 million that he currently has. He's still unprotected in just life insurance. And this is just for protecting the dollars that he's brought in. Not even if he wants to do anything extra. So this would be like another 20-year term policy. Basically, he needs another $2.5 million worth of life insurance. And that's just to protect what he has currently. So I've done this right in front of your faces in live time. So you can see that there's a need to, even if you have life insurance, sit down with a financial professional and really evaluate if you have enough or if you need more. I think that that's valuable information, and I think that that's something that, you know, people need to see. Rod, not a lot of people might want to come up yet. Again, this is something that I equate this to what we see a lot of the Black women come in. They're trying to dip their toe. This is some serious ish right here. Brothers ain't ready for this yet, just like these sisters ain't ready to get slapped in the face with a ton of bricks and told they're average. Right?
Oh yeah,
Because
if he probably busy. If he wasn't busy, I know he'd probably come up here because he's on it like that. But yeah, for a lot of other people, like, because you got to think about it, man. Like you know our group, man. Our group is much more problem oriented. You know, it's funny because much of the criticism that we've gotten in these spaces for years has been about, well, what about the solutions, man? As soon as you bring solutions, a lot of times they mute up and they really do get quiet, because once you have solutions, now it's time to get to work.
Right.
And now it's time to get to work. Ain't no more BSing. This is what you do, and you got to follow it through. you know, it's easy to have a food fight. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to do that. But you know, I tell people all the time, I've been giving people this scenario for a long time. Man, you don't want to be that person, man or woman, man, 55, 60 years old, man, flipping burgers at McDonald's, and your manager is a 20-year-old. Like, and we have seen old black people, man, that age in those fast food restaurants doing that type of work. And at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, we know for a fact that somewhere in their life, they made some wrong decisions. And so, you know, it's those type of scenarios, you know, Kevin, he's hitting hard at this, like with these women, like, yo, if you don't straighten up, man, you're going to die alone, man. Like, it's harder for you as a woman. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's like that retirement word is going to have to be a part of people's lexicons, man, because, you know, YouTube channels going to come and go. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I said this, man, years ago that, you know, Facebook came out in like 2006. You know what I'm saying? It's 2020 going to 2021. Facebook has been around for 14 years. 6 more years, there are people who have spent 20 years of their lives on that shit. That's all. When 20 years, 14 years has passed by pretty fast, man. Now, they made a shitload of money, man. They made billions of dollars. But the people who've been on there arguing, going back and forth, what money have they made? What money have they made? What life insurance policies they got set up? What businesses are they running? Most people that's on Facebook ain't on there for business. They on there for the food fight. Right. It's like, all right, okay, good luck. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, Clan Killer, yes, you can use your life insurance as a retirement check. But most people don't have their life insurance set up to the way that can actually happen. And most people are not going to fund their insurance policy the way that can actually happen, because they're going to be like, well, I'd rather just go with my 401k because my job is contributing to it, and go ahead and rate themselves out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you want to talk about how to do that, my contact info is up there. We can always have a quick half-hour appointment, go through stuff like this and find out. But like I said, a lot of what happens is gentlemen come to like I had a friend who was bragging about a Maserati, and he went on live and he was talking about all this investment stuff. And again, I tell y'all, listen, if we're gonna build a house, a financial house, you got to dig a hole in the ground and pour concrete in it, which is the life insurance. That's the foundation. Just like if you build a house, you got to dig a hole in the ground and pour concrete. Otherwise, the house you build is gonna fall apart. So a lot of those guys that we see that are 50 and 60 and 70 flipping burgers went into the wave. Ooh, I'm going to invest, but didn't build a financial, they didn't build that foundation. You know? Like a Vanguard, bro. Vanguard's great, but yeah, no. Vanguard is very safe. And, you know, they're a great company, and I wouldn't say anything negative about Vanguard, but I can probably get you a higher percentage rate on your IRA. I know I can. But again, and it also depends on the state you're in, because each state has different rules and regulations. Luckily, I'm licensed in the state of New York, so any state in this country, I can walk and slap my dick on the table, and I have carte blanche because I'm licensed in the state of New York. So all I'll do is go, hey, let me pay a fee, and now I'm licensed in your state. I can walk around and again swing my dick on the table because I'm based out of New York. And New York is the only state in the country that requires a financial services institution to have a corporate office on New York soil. They are also the financial capital of the country. So,
well, let me say this too. Like, I'm glad you said something about the 401ks too, because I remember when I don't know if you remember this, but when the Enron debacle happened, and I remember seeing this white couple, because and the reason why I'm saying this is because I want people to see, like, financial illiteracy is not a race thing. It's an individual thing. And they had invested in Enron. They said at the time when they were being interviewed by Oprah, they had about $13 million in tied up into their 401k in Enron. Now, me at the time, I'm thinking like, man, if I had $13 million man, I'm getting my shit up out of there. Like, I mean, I'm like, you got 13 mil. Like, what do you need the company for at that point? I mean, I know they was supposed to be profitable according to what people thought they were, but man, you can't take your own money out and put it in something yourself to further it yourself. Like, why do you need that company? I mean, you got the money, cash out. Like, you're good. You're set for life. You know what I'm saying? So, and they ended up losing all their money. They ended up losing all their money. And I was just like, man, that makes absolutely no sense. But it's like people like, it's the weirdest thing, you know. People on one hand will say, man, how corrupt the system is. And then at the same time, they'll lean on the system to take care of them. And it's like the weirdest shit. It's like, no, you are in control. Like even in law, like it's called controlling your estate. You know, administering your estate. Like you're in control of your estate. You know, it's your duty and your obligation as an individual to make sure your house is in order, your financial house is in order. That's nobody else's responsibility but yours. You have people out here who can advise you on how to do that. So I think it would be very important for people to hear from you, the types of people that can help them get their financial house in order, like the advisors, insurance agents, stuff like that. I think that would be helpful for people to start researching for themselves, reading up on what these people's functions are so they can really start because it's one thing to just say, okay, this is what you should do, but there are actual people out here that exist that actually help them do that. So I think that would be helpful from your perspective, especially with your expertise.
I definitely think so. One thing actually I wanted to show you guys. So I went to let's see if I can pull this up. This year I went to 2020 Conference of American Financial Professionals. Excuse me, African American Financial Professionals. Which I did here. Hold on, let me show you guys this thing. So this year was digital. 2021 is going to Georgia. Okay, obviously registration is closed, but these are a lot of the things that were there. And the big thing that hurt us all here was that we were told that there's only 5% of the financial services industry that are licensed are Black. Okay, so what that tells us is that a lot of us get a lot of financial information, but we get it from places that either don't understand our plight, and it isn't just a racial thing, but when it comes to the financial wealth gap, it is a racial thing. And racially, I think another YouTube content creator mentioned last night, he was saying that, you know, and that's why I said it earlier, the widowocracy. There's going to be a generational wealth transfer because there are now there are less boomers alive, and they're passing their wealth down to Gen Xers, not even millennials or Generation Z, but they're passing it down to Gen Xers. The boomers are 55 to 75. The Gen Xers are, 54 to 40, whatever, right before the millennials. But we're not getting the same funds. So there's going to be a ginormous wealth transfer. So Rod, this is the perfect time for you to get into this industry, because this wealth transfer is going to happen. As we are up, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you. Go ahead. No, I'm agreeing totally with you.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is we're going to see a huge influx in your money being changed. So everyone, I want you to take note of one thing that's happening. And when you're investing in the stock market, wealthy do not invest in the stock market for the purpose of increase. The wealthy invest in the stock market for the purpose of preservation of capital, because they understand that within 10 years, their money is cut in half due to inflation. Every year, the United States economy inflates 3%. So that means that 2020, you have $100,000 in the bank. Let's say you want to leave it there for 10 years. By 2030, that $100,000 is equivalent to $50,000 because of the consistent interest rate of 3% that is hiking with inflation. So, gentlemen, we have to be right and exact, and we have to be diligent in teaching our youth. One more thing that I see in Black families all too often that I don't want to see anymore is not having the kids in present. I can't tell you how many households, Rob, gone into where I sit at the kitchen table. I done came out here suit and booted, suit tie, shiny shoes to look nice for you, come in your house to present to you and your family. And yet it's just the husband or just the wife, and they don't even have the kids sitting there. This is a decision that's going to affect the kids. Rob, you're a living example of it with your situation. Imagine you had sat down with the parents and said, hey, guys, think about me. God forbid something happens.
Right.
Or even to have the knowledge of, wow, well, I'm 10 years old. I don't quite know what's going on. But through osmosis as a Black kid, I learned how to play spades from watching y'all smoke joints and play spades every night. So I'll probably learn some financial stuff too. Because that's how I learned how to play spades, was sitting at the kitchen table watching my parents play spades and drink liquor and listen to, Curtis Mayfield.
Right. Right. Well, this is something that's really been a big issue in Black America for a long time. And it is when these deaths occurred, because what ends up happening, I actually saw something on one of these judge shows one time. I can't remember which judge show it was. I think it was a one that had a Black woman judge on it. And this Black chick's mom was suing her for money because the money she gave her was for her burial, but she loaned it to her, and it was so disrespectful for her. She was in court literally saying, like, I mean, she acting like she gonna die tomorrow. Like, I mean, I'm gonna give it back to her, and it was just like, are you stupid? Like she was literally, she don't know when her mom is gonna die. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And her mom specifically had that money set aside for her burial because she would be the same one cussing her mom out if she died and she had to pay for it. She'd be the main one cussing out. So it's like, a lot of Black people, especially a lot of these Christian Black folks, they love to talk about how good God is. They love God. They love Jesus. But they damn sure be scared as hell to die. I mean, damn, when they talk about heaven, you be like, man, you should be ready to get up. You know what I'm saying? But they don't have anything planned. And a lot of times, this is something that a lot of Black people do. I'm pretty sure in other groups, as far as whites are concerned, they might do this as well. But this is something that's a real big factor in Black America, when a lot of these Blacks, they withhold serious disease from their relatives. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, they just drop dead. Boom. And then it's such a shock. You know what I'm saying? Because the death is going to be a shock anyway. Now it's going to be a financial shock because you got people, even if you're cremating somebody, you can't afford to bury them. Man, that shit costs money. So now family members are fighting over who gonna pay. I don't have the money, and you should do this, and and next thing you know, now you put a burden on your relatives. It's already a devastating moment in all their lives because there's a death in the family. Now you're putting a financial burden on them on top of that, which is only going to further drive the family apart even more so. Because now people are going to be fighting over money and feeling like, somebody should pay more or whatever the case may be. And next thing you know, you got even much more of a fractured family structure, which is the very opposite of what you need to be at that time. You need to be, death is supposed to bring people together and allow people to put things to the side and say, okay, we need to, come together for the sake of, this person dying. But many times for a lot of Black people, the deaths in people's families is actually what drives families apart even further.
Definitely. I want to speak to something Clan Killer said. So the average stock gain is 10%. That's usually over a 20-year investment yield. And that's stocks such as the ones that are blowing up that you've heard of, like Apple, etc. So the average yield, it varies greatly. So when you're looking at 10%, again, you're looking at over the course of 20 years. If you're looking at something that's really going to grow a percentage, Clan Killer, you might want to look at a life insurance policy where if you're looking at something like an index universal, some rates are as high as 6.4%. I've seen as low as 3%, but we're talking about compound interest. So like a credit card, it grows on top of each other. So every month you put $100 in Chase, or every year you put $100 in Chase, you get jack shit. But if every month you put $100 in MetLife, you get $2 off of that $100 a month. So, which would you rather have, zero jack shit a year or $2 a month? I think everybody would resoundingly say, I'd rather have $2 a month. And she is, wow. So yeah, I think that's another thing. We do end up having to plan these funerals, and I recently had to plan a funeral for my aunt, who was 80 some odd years old. She unfortunately didn't have any life insurance. So guess what we had to do? Fish fry or GoFundMe, or everybody in the family had to donate. What really happened was her eldest daughter had to extract money from her 401k to pay for her funeral. And then my mother ended up taking money from her 401k and doing the dinners and stuff for everybody. And I told them I wasn't donating a damn thing unless you had at least come to me and, we found that you're uninsurable. Now, if you're uninsurable, I can understand having a GoFundMe because you can't get the insurance because the insurance company won't give it to you. But if you're insurable, then, you need to do that. I have an example. I have a family member who works for a fraternal organization, the Knights of Columbus. And fraternal organizations have different underwriting rules than life insurance companies. Well, this cousin of mine calls me and, hey, cousin, I happen to know you sell life insurance. Let me ask you a question. My mother is uninsurable through my fraternal organization. I figured I'd come to you as a last resort. I said, what would you like me to do? If you found out she's uninsurable, I can tell you where to not go get some insurance. But we have to be right and exact, and it's better to get it younger than it is older, folks.
Yeah, people, when they're making these decisions about money, they don't really understand the ramifications for it. Even when it comes to people paying for their children to go to college, because there's a lot of white people who will pay for their kids to go to college. Like, they'll spend a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars for, just an undergrad degree. Mm-hmm. And, I've said to these people, like, what are you going to do when you retire and you're not working anymore? How you going to take care of yourself? It sounds good, like, I'm going to pay for my kids' college. But the one thing that your child has on you that you don't have is youth. They got youth on their side. Mm-hmm. You don't have I don't just see people, just the average people that's out here working, jobs and building retirement, stuff like that. When you're building retirement like that, working jobs and stuff like that, you can't afford to just be giving $100 grand away just like that on something that is not necessarily going to even bring a return on the investment. Your kid could go to college and start off in this major and then end up changing. Man, wasted your money.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that's why you have things out here like scholarships and stuff like that. Like, if you're taking care of your child and putting a roof over their head, even if you're not wealthy, man, the least they can do is go out there and get straight A's and get a scholarship. Like let them help you, because you can't be at the, in your 50s and like, well, what should I do? Should I pay for my child to go to college, or should I save for my retirement? Like, because at the end of the day, there's no guarantee that your child is going to take care of you when you're old. There's a lot of parents that end up finding out the hard way. Man, them kids they ain't gonna necessarily look out for you like that. You might hope they do. But you don't know. You know what I'm saying? You don't know. And so I'm not saying that you can't support, your child going to college, but when you start talking about just having money of that magnitude and you just you draw from that account and you just pay that tuition, I'm like,
bro, here's a loophole to that. So there's two loopholes to that. One is something called the Section 529 College Savings Plan.
Yep.
Which I don't recommend. Another is just like I said. See, I hold many licenses, right? And when I tell people as their financial advisor, I got rid of all my licenses that can lose you money. I only hold the licenses now that can guarantee you an increase from the moment you put $1 in. I got rid of my licenses that can lose you money. I hold now only the licenses that can guarantee you money from the moment you put $1 in. They increase. I'm going to say that one more time. I got rid of the licenses that can lose you money. I now only hold the licenses that guarantee an increase from the moment you put $1 in. See, I used to hold the Series 6, 63. I was almost about to hold the Series 7. But those licenses can lose you money. Guess what license you can never lose money with? The life insurance license. So you can put your money in a Section 529 college savings plan and spend all those money management fees. Now, there's two ways you can fund a 529. You can fund it by prepaying for college. So let's say, Yale is $400,000. You can put $400,000 in the account today, and 18 years from now, when your kid is 18 and ready to go to college, the money's there. Or you can do what most people do, which is the 529 college savings plan, and they put a little bit away over time, right? Or you could put your money in a life insurance policy that grows at a 6.4% compound interest rate, and put it on a child, because a life insurance policy can be put on a child as soon as they're 15 days old. And then by the time they're college age, you've probably got their entire tuition paid for and then some. And there's no negative aspect, because with a Section 529 college savings plan, you can only pay for school costs, whether that be tuition, room and board, what have you, but only for school costs.
Mm.
So, you could do that with the 529 and not even have yourself in a position where you're in your 50s or 60s compromising your retirement. But again, these conversations need to be had, and they aren't being had, right, especially in Black America, which is why the wealth gap is just opening. Biden intends on letting 11 million more immigrants into this country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 11 million motherfuckers that's diluting our numbers, which aren't astronomical to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I have been up here almost 2 hours. I'm going to let you go ahead and give your closing statement. I'll go ahead and close out. I think I'm going to I'm trying to find a schedule where I can fit in and start just doing these. I'm gonna start doing a lot of these more random and just staying on long. Make sure y'all hit that like, comment, and subscribe, and that notification bell so that you do get notified when we do drop new content. Make sure to check out for my social media, support the Cash App so we can continue to bring you more of this type of content.
Let me know too if you, because we know how these channels are going sometimes, and if you want to stream simultaneously, I don't know if you have Teams, but I think it would be good too to simultaneously stream through here and Teams as well. So just in case people get stupid, like it can still keep going and do it like that as well. So it doesn't get interrupted, because you know how people can get, you can have trolls start coming around. So I think it would be good to stream through both mediums so that the information can still be put out there.
That's fair. I agree.
And you can get people's email addresses as well, and you can always send them an invite. So like how I do when I'm talking to you.
Yes.
And they can still see it on both. So.
Oh yeah, that's what I like that. That's beautiful, because I think in that manner we can also kind of save and archive and chop up things.
Right.
And then even like discussions like this, I'll chop it up, drop. It'll make it easier to create more content, so that you guys can come back and follow the content, because this is 2 hours of a lot of information, and it started off something way completely different than what it turned into, and I'm glad that it did. Part of that was you being up here, and I was like, you know what? I know he ain't gonna want to talk about these women. Fuck that. Let's talk about this money.
You know what I showed you. You know that Benz I showed you. You know what I'm going for.
Oh man, I still want that thing, boy.
I ain't got time, bro. Look. I'm here for the dough. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it 100.
Yeah.
I got a lifestyle. I got a certain lifestyle that I need to have. Like I ain't look.
Listen,
say that again.
I said we about to be back at the back in them Benzes, man. That shit was hard.
I'm telling you, son. I'm telling you. Like, I mean, you come on, man. I'm in Texas, you in New York. We in major money hubs, man. That's what we supposed to be connecting on, not on some trauma bonding and what happened. Like, we here. You know what I'm saying? Whatever we went through, we here. We got through that shit. So we've already shown that we can persevere through some of the harshest shit. We made to get this shit. You know what I'm saying? We made to get this cheese. So, that's my mindset, because at the end of the day, you ain't doing shit without no money. So that's the bottom line.
That it is. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and get to wrapping it up. Again, we appreciate y'all for coming. Make sure that y'all come by and, give us listen, because we here and all we doing is giving y'all that giving y'all that content that y'all need. So I'm going to end it like this. Everyone, each one teach one, stay down till you come up. With that being said, peace and black power, one love, I'm out.
Our goal is to break the power of the mob in America and nothing short of it. We need to end their profits, imprison their members, and cripple their organization. Break the power of the mob